Hello, and a very, very warm welcome to the first episode of the Blackside podcast, a podcast of, for, and by Black people in the UK. At around this time every year for the past 36 years, since 1987, people in the UK celebrate Black History Month, a time set aside to appreciate the mostly unrecognized and unspoken contributions of Black pioneers to society. On being asked how and why Black History Month in the UK started, the Ghanaian analyst and activist Akiaba Adaisebo, who led the movement and was responsible for starting the Black History Month in the UK, responded, and start of quote here: "I was stirred up in the mid-1980s by the identity crisis that Black children faced, as some brazenly would not identify with Africa and shrank when being called African. A colleague came to work one morning, broken-hearted, and in probing her why, revealed to me in confidence that her 7-year-old son, whom she had proudly and purposefully named Marcus after Marcus Garvey, before going to bed had asked her, 'Mom, why can't I be white?' In consoling this devastated mother, I was prompted to go around asking questions about identity and to observe and talk to children more after school, in buses, parks, and in the playgrounds in the communities in some parts of London. I was awakened to the fact that even some Ghanaians tried to mimic being Afro-Caribbeans, and some Afro-Caribbeans would take offense to being referred to as African. A crisis of identity faced us squarely despite the race awareness campaigns of the Greater London Council, GLC, and the Inner London Education Authority, the ILEA. More had to be done, so I conceived an annual celebration of the contributions of Africa, Africans, and people of African descent to world civilization from antiquity to the present, and got a lot of support from the leadership of the GLC and the ILEA." End of quote. Although that was in the 1980s, personally, I have found that a lot of the crises of identity remain and are part of what we'll be discussing on the Blackside podcast. Blackside started as a group on meetup.com. After a few months of attending events and going on walks and going everywhere and being the only Black person around, I'm sure a lot of other Black people can identify with that. The goal of the Blackside group on Meetup was to get people to come outside, to do things, and take up space. And so a lot of, or I'll say some of the discussions we'll have on this podcast will be influenced by, or probably instigated by, discussions we have while we are out on these walks, typically around the Peak District. So you're free to join us on any of those walks, usually on Saturdays. And over the coming episodes, we'll try to tackle Black identity and experience, with emphasis on try, because I don't believe that I or one podcast can solve an issue that is this complex just by talking to a few people. But the idea, and I think it was the same idea behind the Black History Month, is to get people talking and sharing their experiences. To round up, I have a question for you. What does Black History Month mean to you as a Black person in the UK? How has Black History Month affected your identity as a black person in the UK. You can send your responses to mywords@blackside.uk. That is mywords at blackside.uk, and we'll read out and discuss some of your responses on the next episode. However, if you'd prefer to be anonymous or you'd rather not have your response read out, you just add a note to say so and we'll pick it from there. Thanks for joining us on the Blackside podcast. Catch you on the next episode.